Hey guys, this video is going to be about base, so keep listening if you want to see how you can maximize your results in that class. So the first thing I want us to talk about in our base class is that obviously it's a slightly slower pace, but that doesn't mean to say that it's an easy class to roll through. New research suggests that for hypertrophy gains or getting strength gains, we want to be working quite close to failure. We're not necessarily saying failure each time, but the research suggests that stopping between 1 to 3 reps, which we will call RIR, so reps in reserve, is one of the best ways to allow and elicit a strength response or a hypertrophy response. So what we're saying here, when you're exercising, when you're hitting a lift or a strength movement in our base class, if you're falling between 1 to 3 reps left in the tank, you're going to see some results. If we're hitting a weight, say we're doing 10 kilos and we get to 10 reps and we could have done maybe 5 or 8 more, we're not going to see as many results as if that difficulty level was much closer, i.e. we had maybe at the most 3 more repetitions in the bank before we just couldn't physically do any more. Okay, so what we mean by that is we're talking about good form failure. We're not suggesting all of a sudden we're rounding our backs trying to churn out every single repetition we can. We're saying with the good techniques that the coaches are going to provide for you, you just try and hold yourself accountable there and then choose the weight that allows you to drop in the correct rep scheme. What is the correct rep scheme? A lot of research is going to suggest that there isn't a correct rep scheme. You can get bigger and stronger and faster and all of those things across the whole breadth. But if we start to pick out kind of 3 distinct areas, so reps 1 to 5, we're going to have to use quite a big loading. Okay, there's a slightly higher risk factor in going that heavy and doing that fewer reps. And also, you're going to need to do quite a lot of sets to get that work. If we look at the other end of the spectrum, we're saying maybe 15, 20, 25 repetitions onwards, you're probably going to find that you're going to fatigue potentially in other areas. Your breathing might start to go. You might get bored. Okay, you might lose concentration. So that top end of the rep scheme is going to be quite hard. So we're looking in our base classes of using reps that would be somewhere between 6 and maybe 15. Okay, what's the right one? It's the right one for you that you can use the correct weight to get you between 1 to 3 reps left in the tank. How many sets should you do? On the slightly bigger moves and you do slightly less reps, we could potentially do more sets. And then on those smaller movements like we're thinking the bicep curls, okay, we're potentially thinking about less sets and we're just doing more repetitions. Okay, hopefully that kind of covers some of the key areas and the context there. How do we make this work? Well, you need to measure your progress. Okay, because these things take time. And how do we measure our progress? We look at the load-in, so the dumbbell weight, the barbell weight that we're using. We're looking at the repetitions, so we're noting down however many repetitions that we're getting. We're also noting down how close to failure do we think we were. So in your little notebook on your notes page, wherever you log your training, you possibly need to be writing down, actually, I used a 10 kilo weight, I got to 10 repetitions, and I had 1 left in the tank. That's great knowledge. So then the next time you come, you might do the same number of repetitions, the same loading, but you could have done 3 more. It might be an opportunity to then start to do more repetitions or move on to that newer weight. But that knowledge is essential for you progressing. It's not you versus someone else, it's just you versus your logbook. Okay? The last thing that you can look to measure is your recovery rate. We've all been there. We do too much. We can't walk, we can't sit down, we can't lift our arms up, we can't put our clothes on, we can't spoon our cereal. We don't want to be so sore that we can't train again. How much soreness is a good amount of soreness? By the next time you use these muscles, i.e. do base again, you should near enough be recovered. If there's a little bit of soreness and it doesn't affect your numbers on your training log, perfect, crack on. If you're so sore that your numbers start to regress or it's too uncomfortable to do, you need to start at an easier level and then potentially progress this onwards. The last thing I'm going to touch on our base classes is talking about consistency. You don't get strong in one session. Okay, it takes quite a long time and quite a lot of sessions to start to see an increase in our strength, in the size of our muscles, in the endurance in our muscles. So what I'm going to say to you guys is if you have been coming sporadically, commit. If you have been coming quite regularly, start to log it. Okay, hopefully that's kind of covered some areas on our base classes. I know you guys are really passionate about that. It helps get your first pull-ups. It helps build strength in and around the joints. I know it's, like I said, it's a very popular class. Hopefully that's outlined some key areas that will potentially help you progress on in base. Peace.